The issue now is, with margins, we are the winner for the closest in the country at 0.2%. When the margins are this tight, every little thing matters. So this office will thoroughly investigate, and we will work to find ways. We know the system counted properly. We know the ballots that were there were counted properly and correctly. We know that. We're going to have an audit to prove it, and it looks like more than likely the president will ask for a recount to reaffirm that. But on the front end, we need to make sure that the absentee ballot process is as tight as it can be so we can stop illegal voting and prevent double voting now and in the future. So with that, I'll take any questions you all might have. We have not seen that at this time, but I do believe we have some reports of this. Our investigators would likely be looking into it, but I don't have specific information at this time. Yes? Either one. Y'all decide. Okay, so with 47 having certified so far, it means we have 112 more to go, which is not insignificant, and some of them are the larger counties. But we have some of the larger counties in this. Richmond's already certified. Muskogee's already certified. So we already have some of the larger counties in here, but it will be a process as they continue to wrap up the final pieces of the provisionals. We feel like most of the uploads were already done over the weekend. And now you'll find the ticky-tacky things where they do their reconciliations and make sure that, yes, we've got all the ballots to be uploaded. So that's what happens first. So we're trying to move them as fast as they can in certification so that we can do our risk-limiting audit and know the decision has not been made as to which race will be done, that will be done on. But the outward bounds of all these, again, are the counties have to certify by this Friday, and then the following Friday the state has to be certified. And again, that's because that is the outward edge bound before we have to get the UOCAVA ballots out for military and overseas voters on Saturday, November 21st. Now, no, nothing? Oh, okay. See you then. Okay, it's loud. You have to step forward so I can hear you. No. Okay. What else?
Very good. We also heard from allegations from the president that there were missing military ballots. Are there any missing military ballots?
The only thing we have, and I'll go back over the numbers again, was the approximately 7,000 that just did not make it here in time legally. And I'll go over those numbers again 1 second. 7,786 of them did not make it here to their county in time. So that's, I wouldn't call those missing. There's people who either didn't vote them or they got lost in the USPS or any other number of ways why they didn't get there. Stephen.
Can you talk about the audit timing and process? The first time there's been a statewide risk-limiting audit?
We're working to get the deadline for the counties to get their ballot manifests into the state is basically today. I'm sure there'll be some stragglers we'll be working with because, again, like you said, this is the first time we've done something like this. Now, we cannot do the audit itself until we get the certification from the counties because that gives us our final count of the ballots, which is then put into the Arlo system where we're partnered with Voting Works, a nonpartisan group that's helping us organize this risk-limiting audit. And again, we're kind of at the mercy of the last county to come in before we can get everything going. But I believe, and it's either Tuesday or Wednesday, I think the secretary will make the announcements to which race will be audited. I'm not sure at the time which one it is. And frankly, I just remember it's Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'll try to get the answer to you. Yes, sir. Well, frankly, the secretary ran for this job. We took these jobs. The pressure is more internal and external to get it right. Our job is to get it right for the voters and the people of Georgia and for the people of the United States to make sure the outcomes of this election are correct and trustworthy, and at the end of the day, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, no matter which candidate you supported, you can have trust and believe in the outcome of these things. Listen, we understand that there's one side of this country that is ebullient. They're ecstatic. They're in the streets partying. I guess COVID's over. So then you have the other side, which are extremely upset. They're angry. They, in their heart of hearts, know in their gut that something terrible happened and their guy lost and it's not fair. And when you're this close and the emotions run this high, it's understandable. And the president, to a strong degree, has a responsibility to those 70 million people or so who voted for him to say, I'm going to go through all the legal means to make sure your vote's defended. We understand that. Our job in this state is to follow the law of this state. If a judge comes in and tells us to do something else, we will do that, but our job is to follow the law, get the accurate counts, and get them out as fast as we can legally. I couldn't answer that right now. It's down to the county level. I know they're working diligently to get through this. Yes, ma'am. Well, this is it. It was a configuration issue on a single machine. It was one of those things where they try to get extra machinery in to help the process, and this falls into something my dad calls help don't help unless it helps. This did not help. But going forward, it's going to be easy to look for that and know that. And we're looking on to procedures to make sure that in the future, this has become such an important part of this, that we do an extra step of verification before we deploy it. And we're looking for another way that basically all of these to be adjudicated ballots get put to one side over here, and the rest of them can be done, they get uploaded, and those results are out there, which is what they did, but the process of getting back through this because of that misconfiguration has taken longer than it should have. Yes? Wait a second, she's impatient. So. I'm unaware. I've heard some of those rumor-wise, but I don't have a specific thing on that. We have to check with our lead investigators on that. But I would think normally that would be handled under the state constitution. Election security is the responsibility of the county sheriff, so they should be the ones who would be providing the lead security for anybody who sees any threats, which is nobody should be threatened for doing what is a great American job to volunteer and work hard in these elections. Stephen, Mark, you all decide.
How confident are you in the accuracy of the unofficial results reported so far? And if they are accurate, does that mean that not much will change in the recount?
We are very confident. We never had a recount, so we don't know what will happen yet, especially with this much paper that is hand-marked. Stephen.
Yeah, so with the recount, everybody's watching and waiting and wondering what that's going to look like. Can you describe what the recount process takes now that we have all paper ballots?
Yeah, this is where we get into the fun, really geeky level of insider baseball that I know you love. But essentially what it is, we have HB 316, which called for there being an audit statewide. The decision was made internally months ago. You would have something called a risk-limiting audit. Now, in doing that, you have to make a few decisions. You have to decide what it's going to be, and the rules around that decide for the ones that's the easiest in terms of efficacy to achieve. That's one of the parts of the rules, but there are many other things that feed into it, so I'm not going to presuppose what the secretary may or may not choose. Functionally, at the county level, they have these things called ballot manifests, so they know how many ballots they have to do. Wait a second, am I doing RLA or recount? I just realized this.
We take both, but
I'll go through RLA first because that's the next step. So we have the ballot manifests. We roll 20 10-sided dice, like from Dungeons & Dragons, and you get random numbers, and you put those into the Arlo software. And those will give you a randomized version after you've put in all the ballot manifests, and the computer will basically say, in Spalding County, you pull one ballot from batch 3. In Fulton County, you pull 2 ballots from batch 77. In Dougherty County, you pull 1 ballot from batch 17 around the state until you get to the scientific number that says once you run these things through and a human being reads these, they write them down on a card, they put their results back into the Arlo system, it will give you a percentage of confidence that the outcome is correct. So that's how that works. And if it doesn't get to that percentage of confidence, you do it all again to get another round of ballots and keep on adding to it and adding to it until you get to that confidence level. Now, a recount is something that is similar but very different. And there's rules around that as well that was defined by the state election board. Every county would have to get their ballots prepared. We did do the investment to provide a high-speed, high-capacity scanner for every single county, regardless of size. Big counties have multiples of these. And what they're going to do is they will create, I misspoke slightly the other day, they will not be taking actual live ballots. They will create a test deck that they know the outcome from it. They will go on a BMD and vote, and they will do some hand mark and vote to say, we're going to make it 42 for the president, 58 for Joe Biden, or 56 for Joe Biden, and 2 for, Jorgensen. They run that through the scanner to say that's the outcome we expected. Then you clear those votes off because you know the scanner is operating properly. Then you take all the ballots, regardless of where they came from, be they the absentee in person, which is the early vote, the absentee, which is the hand-marked, or the BMD on election day, which is the traditional ballot we'd be seeing. And they get all put through those central scanners to get you a final count. And the intent is, obviously, that that count will be very, very similar to the other one. But let me caution everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. It always is in every recount in the history of mankind. It's always a little bit different. Machines look at things slightly differently. Sometimes the reflection might be a little off, but fundamentally it will not be off. But it's always going to be a little bit different. That is not suspicious. That is normal. Okay? And another thing about this is all those ballots that were adjudicated with ambiguous marks or overvotes, they get adjudicated again. So you have a different panel of human beings looking to make those decisions. So that's another reason that could be affected. Every one of these processes involves people. The least reliable part of all these processes is people, because we are all fundamentally flawed. We will all make mistakes. And I guarantee you, if I get a deck of 1,000 votes and I give it to people to count, it will come up with a different thing every time. If I give it to a computer to count, 99% of the time it's going to come out with the same outcome. That's just the way human beings are built. And we all have to kind of accept that. And again, it doesn't mean there's skullduggery going on. It means humans are going to be humans. And we all got to know that at the end of the day. What else we got? Yep.
Yeah, Congresswoman-elect Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that she contacted your office to try to get an investigation into her husband allegedly being sent absentee ballot. Are you aware of that? Have you looked into this issue? And do you think that's
That would be with the investigators, and essentially we get all those all the time. We get plenty of them, and they're very busy with people who are making some of these claims. I mean, I myself, my fiance just sent me one that she ran into somebody at the Dollar General about wanted to look to see if they voted or not. So, yeah, so every single one that comes in, we're going to investigate. We're going to track it down. It doesn't mean anything happened. It doesn't mean anything didn't happen. What we have to find is evidence of something happening, and that's the main goal of our investigators when they go out there.
last thing you say you have to find evidence. Have you seen any evidence at all to back up any of these claims so far?
Again, fraud is a very large, vague kind of thing. The one thing I do know is there's evidence of illegal votes. And that's a very binary thing. Fraud is this emotionally fraught word. And let me just say this. For the people out there who are as irritated with people talking about voter fraud right now, they should be equally irritated with people who are talking about voter suppression 2 years ago. Both undermine confidence in the system. Both were false then. Both are false now. And I'm telling you that because that is the truth. And the one thing we got to realize is that illegal voting is going to happen. It's a minor part of this thing, and we're putting every safeguard we can get to make sure it doesn't happen now or in the future. But again, that whole thing about human beings being flawed, guess what? That's going to happen. And we're trying to do everything we can. The electronic part of this thing, the software, the scanners, all that stuff worked exactly well. The only point where we have some issues occasionally is where human beings have to interact with it. And we have literally 159 counties, 2,419 polling locations, 330 early voting polling locations, staffed by tens of thousands of poll workers that had, between all the systems, nearly 5 million Georgians casting votes. Guess what? Mistakes will be made. That's going to happen. You have to be realistic about that. And yes, there's a highlight on this now because of just the sheer tightness of our race. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. I wouldn't necessarily say that there was mayhem. There's processing. And in this state, it's very different than in other states. We do not send out unsolicited ballots. You have to make a request online with your driver's license. You have to send in a request in with your signature. So we have a first stop point on that. The second stop point is then it has to be signature matched again at the back end. So in this state, we know there's going to be some issues with this, but we did not see any widespread issues with the absentee balloting process. And for the vast majority of the voters in the state, they voted in person on a BMD. Anything else? All right. Thank you all very much.